I do my homework.
D23 Live. That's
Yeah. Hey, put in a good word for me, man. I'm trying to get a job. I don't know if you know this. And we're going to get to D23 in a second. So, swell. He says that a lot. What to you? What does swell mean? And Mickey's like the only character that says it.
I'm glad you asked that. Actually, there has been a movement and an opinion with some people within the company to eradicate that, actually.
Okay.
I want to know, what do you guys think? Should Mickey say swell? Okay. I saw some head shakes like you're like, no,
I think you say no? He shouldn't keep it?
It's not swell.
It's not?
No,
What's it?
it's swell.
Oh, you scared me. You Navi, I don't know. You might know something. On
Might mean
Pandora.
something different over there.
Yeah, I know, right?
So there's been an opinion among some people that like swell's dated, like grandpas only say swell, and I go, I argue that Mickey is I don't hear grandpa saying swell.
Right,
Really, I don't, but I hear Mickey saying it, and I think when people hear Mickey say swell, all they think of is that's a very Mickey thing to say.
Yeah.
What is swell? I think swell is an exclamatory statement, like, how you doing today, Mick? I'm swell.
Yeah.
Like
I buy it. Like when I hear it, that's Mickey Mouse.
It's a Mickey phrase. It's like it's excited. It's affirmative. It's saying the same thing as that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it actually. I like to throw it in every once in a while. There's been times when they've tried to make Mickey say awesome or cool, and it just doesn't sound right. Thank you.
Wow, that was a reaction.
Go on social media and share your opinions.
I know.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Minnie Mouse, how do you feel about all this?
Yeah, no, it's very Mickey.
Yeah,
right?
I feel so too.
It's like saying, oh, we can't say oh boy anymore. You should say oh.
These are things. Yeah, we know it. So I want to do something very quick. I had two of them over here. So very important. I have room temperature water for you because that's very important. So I want to walk us through. This is for you. You do prefer cold? Do you?
Oh,
What do you prefer?
I prefer like a specific temperature.
Oh, yeah. I prefer Evian.
97.
It's House of Mouse. Take what you get. Embassy Suites. But
the salad dressing was expired yesterday, so I'm.
Oh boy! Oh no! Oh, so walk us through a day. Like, let's say you book a gig, and let's say you have to voice an episode of Mickey's Clubhouse.
Mickey Mouse Funhouse.
Mickey Mouse Funhouse, yeah. Walk us through a day in the life of how you prepare, how you start from home all the way through. What's your day like? That you can tell us publicly.
Sure, you want to know?
Yeah. That Mickey would say.
I think you need to ask my husband this question, because he'd be like, you know how lucky you are? I'm like, I've got a 2-hour recording session today. And he's like, I'll see you in 12 hours when I get back from work.
Right.
Like, jerk. Let me throw this down there. Okay. Hard. No, thank you. Okay, typical recording session. So, in an ideal world, you know about your recording session maybe like a week in advance, but a lot of times it's like a day or two before or day of. But so typically, if I know I'm recording, if I have the luxury of a few days before, I'll be very cognizant of how I'm using my voice. We'll try to stay away. I'm a woodworker. I restore antiques. I do all kinds of crazy little side things like that, and so I will, be careful not to be painting or spray painting or using things that are going to potentially affect my voice. And then I just try to be really cognizant of like what I'm eating and drinking leading up to it. The morning of, I'll make sure I get in some exercise. That usually helps clear out the sinuses and whatnot. Get some steam, drink some tea, but it's really just common sense stuff, right? And then I'll make my way into the studio and we'll record. So that was a really lame, boring answer.
No, it gives us.
I'm trying to elaborate. Like, what else do I do?
A certain
my
type
dog
of tea.
for a walk. That's a lot. I don't.
But you can make a good point, right? Because you live your life, but there are things that can affect you if you have a sinus clogged or something. So how important is voice health for you in your life?
Very important, actually. And I think, honestly, why I'm not able to pinpoint some exciting day in the life for you is because it's just become very normal for me to be cognizant of that. I don't go to loud environments. I don't go to loud bars or restaurants or sporting games because even just you and I trying to have a conversation in that place is going to be taxing. I'll get home, no voice. I just, there's things that, I get on a plane and that affects my voice. So when I plan to come to fan conventions, as fun as they are, they're slightly stressful for me because I'll go home and I know I need a couple days rest to fight off that travel fatigue, and then just getting to have all the wonderful conversations we've been having all weekend, that takes a toll. So it's something I'm always aware of. Some days are better than others. I'm the first person to be able to pinpoint exactly how I was feeling when I hear playback of a session. I can hear a parade or a TV episode, and I can be like, that's the day that the winds were blowing and my allergies were bothering me or whatever. So yeah, it's hit or miss, and it's one of those things where I think sometimes it's forgotten. Mickey is a trick voice. Meaning that it's a voice that it's not just your normal speaking voice. You have to do something to make the voice happen. And for me, it's talking in a falsetto, which means falsetto is all about airflow and air going through your sinuses, and a little bit to do with your vocal cords. But if I'm not being able to breathe right, and that sounds weird. Like there's days when Mickey's voice just doesn't work, so I don't have the full range, and so It can be a bit stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, do you know this? Like, for instance, you might feel, I'm just imagining, you don't feel that well, right? Yeah. Do you know personally, or do you go try to be like, I can do it, and the director's like, you're not sounding like it?
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know. I
okay.
can tell. Yeah, and so there have been moments when I've, just had to, give them a call and be like, guys, I'm sorry, but it's not worth it today. Like, it's not going to be up to snuff. And they're very respectful of that. I mean, I think when I first started, I was terrified. It's like calling in sick, right? Yeah. You're like, you don't want to let them down. They need me to be in there. And so I would go in and like screech through. And I had several directors tell me, they're like, look, you're no good to us if you struggle through and then you've really trashed your voice and we can't use you for a week. Because there were times early on when like I would trash my voice so that for 2 weeks I couldn't come into work. And that just delays everything. So they're very understanding. And like I said, it's like I do my part to try and prevent that, but if I ever have to, then they'll give me a little bit of wiggle room.
Oh, wow. So. Okay, so let's talk about a lot of the different places you voiced Mickey. You did film, TV, and the Disney parks, as you just said. But I want to talk about video games, and you did a controversial video game.
Oh, I did.
You did, and that was Epic Mickey, and I'll tell you why it was controversial. Epic Mickey was controversial because they actually were rebranding Mickey Mouse and going away from his fun, playful attitude to his more mischievous and adventurous side.
Sure.
So, I ask you, did you find that difference when you were voicing Mickey for Epic Mickey?
Ooh,
let's go back in time.
No, you're right. God, that was forever ago. You're right, because back then there was a real push to rejuvenate Mickey, is how it was being phrased amongst the corporate environment. And so with that came a few projects, Epic Mickey being one of them. And so you're right. Epic Mickey opens with Mickey kind of being mischievous and the sorcerers, and it's what do you call a sorcerer's workshop? Like
workshop?
Lair?
Yeah. Workshop lair, yeah.
Workshop, there's a word for it. I don't know. Anyway, basement.
Magic basement.
Magic basement.
Magic basement.
Magic basement.
Sounds like a new show. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that could be really good. Yeah. Welcome to Mickey's basement. Mickey is getting into trouble playing with this like map, as I remember, and he spills ink, which is what creates this villain that Mickey then gets sucked into the world and has to like fix. So yeah, I mean, he was being a little bit more mischievous. In Epic Mickey, it was interesting. I was about to say weird. It's not weird, but it was interesting because he was playing a more mischievous character, but that was kind of the unvoiced portion of it, I think. Like there was a lot of noises when that happened, but then the cutscenes are really when the dialogue started. And the cutscenes were really Mickey trying to figure out like, how the heck did I get in here, and how do I get out, and how do I fix this?
Gotcha.
So it was a little bit more like, I'm so sorry, Mickey. But it is interesting because, like that video game, there's a lot of different things that we work on where it addresses a little different Mickey personality, right? If it's Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Mickey's the leader of the gang and he's very instructional. Mickey Mouse Funhouse has allowed us to be a little bit more on the adventure side, and so that's you.
I was adding some background music, adventurous.
It's getting very,
very intense.
Dun, dun, dun.
I didn't know I could do that.
So you do have to tap into different personalities with Mickey, and the way I look at it is Mickey is a performer, he's an actor, and so he's aware of the different parts he can play, whether it's in Kingdom Hearts and he's a real like bad, or Epic Mickey where he's messed up and it's like, oh, beep. Swell, that's the word.
That's what that's really important.
Bleeping out swell.
Swell.
Just so you know.
Just so you know, to be clear.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm rambling now.
But to your point, also Kingdom Hearts, big success for Disney and Mickey Mouse, right? Look at this.
Oh,
Right?
There's two fans.
Yeah. But they committed, and that's the difference.
I think they just like the costumes. I don't think they know. Yeah. I need that wig.
So, and it's found success in merchandise and in cosplay. What's it like meeting fans from the gaming world? Like they know Mickey from, Kingdom Hearts. Is there a difference in the fandom? Do they like, oh, I was introduced to Mickey I really like Mickey more because of the game?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, and. Mm-hmm. Here's a good improv answer.
Yes. Here we go.
I'm gonna say the biggest difference when it comes to Kingdom Hearts fans is my embarrassment to admit to them that I know nothing about that world. And I feel like it's disappointing to you guys, and I'm so sorry. But I'm not a video game player because I haven't been able to play video games since Super Mario Brothers when I started getting motion sick.
I do too.
You just go left to right, and that was too much for me, so I'm out. They're beautiful games, and I've watched the cutscenes and all that, but there's such in-depth stories, which are why fans love them. They're like really beautiful stories, and it's really hard to track when you're performing in it because we get the scripts we are given are our little bits. Mm-hmm. That's it, and it's under a strict NDA. We can't talk about it, and because of that secretive process, we really aren't given much insight into what's happening. There's not a lot of context other than in this scene you're about to be attacked by these three things, and so this is why you're responding this way. But in terms of a narrative, we have no idea. Bill Farmer and I are often like, I don't know. Sure. And so, I've actually learned a lot about Kingdom Hearts through the fans. Like, they've come to me and they said, I love this part, or I love that line. And I'm like, I'm glad you know, because now I do too.
Yeah.
So I will say that it's really fun to meet. It's fun to meet any Mickey fan. Kingdom Hearts fans are really great and cool because they know all of those little details of the games that I never was able to pick up on my own.
Gotcha.
So they're kind of informing me.
Something that I've seen in an interview before, but I think it's so amazing. And that's the story of your first introduction to Fantasmic and where you are now with Fantasmic. So can you tell us a little bit about that? We're talking the early days here.
Early days.
And then Fantasmic, and then in full circle, boom.
1992. Didn't I meet somebody in here who told me they were born in 92? There he is. And I was like, oh, that means I'm 10 years older than you. Okay, so Fantasmic to me to this day is quintessential Disney magic. So if you've never seen the Disneyland's version takes place in Disneyland. It's on the rivers of America, and it's really on Tom Sawyer Island. And so you have been to Disneyland all day, walking through this place, and seeing where the Mark Twain riverboat and the Columbia sailing ship are going by, and the rafts and the canoes, and then you're on Tom Sawyer's Island, and you're not thinking, you're just like in magic of Disneyland. And then at nighttime, all of a sudden, these light towers emerge from the ground, and there's fireworks, and Mickey's appearing, and projections, and it's just like, to a 10-year-old kid, and to a 40-year-old man, amazing. Like, they're like in awe. So I remember the first time I saw Fantasmic at 10 years old, and I just was blown away. And the soundtrack was amazing, and Mickey was such a big part of it. And so I was obsessed from that point on. Every visit, I insisted we have to stay for Fantasmic. I'm the oldest of 4 boys, so my family, a family of 6, would go, and understandably so, at the end of a long Disneyland day, sometimes my parents were not up for waiting for Fantasmic and finding the spot and stuff. And on one of those trips, my dad was like, we gotta go home. And as we were leaving, we passed a shop and I saw the soundtrack for Fantasmic was for sale. And he's like, tell you what, I'll buy that and we can listen to it when we get home. And I was like, great consolation prize.
We can listen to it in the car.
Yeah, so, this was before cars had CD players, Mark. So we had to wait till we got home to put it on our big, put it in and the speakers. But I have vivid memories of sitting on our family room couch, listening to that soundtrack. I was like cranking up as loud as I could, you know, without waking up my brothers. And it was cool, but I'm telling you, I remember thinking like, this is great, but it's not the same. Like, I'm not feeling the bass of the speakers. I'm not feeling the like heat of the fire and seeing the fireworks and listening to the crowd. Like, I was able to acknowledge something's missing. That didn't stop me from obsessing over that soundtrack forever. I listened to it all the time. I started talking along with it and performing all the characters, and that's where I started to go, oh, you know, that kind of sounds like Mickey. And so that's really where people are always like, how did you learn to do Mickey? How did you start doing it? I was just a kid talking along, you know, I was doing the magic mirror too, like, I can't remember the line now, but I'd have a flashlight under my chin, and I'd look into my Aladdin poster on the wall, and be like, fame has no beauty, majesty. And I do all the voices. Anyway, later on, my brother and I started playing Fantasmic. We'd go out in the yard with hoses and little bottle rockets.
Wow!
Yeah, my dad had a projector for work, and we would take it out. I remember I like set it up so it's showing out the window inside, and we were projecting Sorcerer Mickey on this giant tree outside. And we're like, Mom and Dad, come and watch. They're so nice to watch. We're like, hold on.
Wow.
So I was obsessed.
Yeah, a little.
Fast forward to the point of the story you probably want to know is, I can't even remember what year it was now, but years ago they decided to revamp Fantasmic. A lot of people have called it Fantasmic 2.0 at Disneyland. And so I had been called into the studio one time for a Fantasmic project, but it was for Tokyo. And so I recorded all the dialogue for Tokyo's Fantasmic so that the Japanese voice of Mickey could dub over. So I was doing like reference basically for him to then mimic for the Tokyo version. So when I got scheduled for a Fantasmic thing, it wasn't a big deal. I was like, oh, it must be another iteration or whatnot. And then when I went in and I was given the script, it was, because again, I knew these lines by heart, it was all of the Disneyland Fantasmic lines. And I was like, wait, what's happening? Like, well, we're revamping Fantasmic, and as such, we need to update those lines. And this is the first time I've ever done this where I would happily have left that session and not done it, because I said, are we sure that this, I said, like, no disrespect to this creative team, but like, are we sure we need to do this? Because this is an iconic performance, and I don't want to be responsible for messing this up or stepping on Wayne's legacy, truly. Because it meant so much to me, and I knew it meant so much to other people. And they explained that because of the updates, they had to. You know, a lot of stuff done back then, believe it or not, the first Fantasmic was done on what they called reel-to-reel tapes. So it's recorded on tapes, literally like, you know, you've got one reel and another reel recorded on tape, and you want something that's like to find it and edit it. And so at the end result, it wasn't easy just to like pick out the Mickey lines. They were reorchestrating and redoing everything. So I had to do those lines. And they said, but, you know, we may keep Wayne's finale line in there, just as a homage. And I was like, okay, love that idea. And they're like, but only if it works. And I should explain that there's a lot of times I've come back to work on something that Wayne did already, and you know, you might say, well, why not just keep Wayne's lines and throw in the new line? And it's like, as much as I've worked to sound as close to Wayne as possible, the recording technology's changed so much, so you're gonna get different audio qualities, let alone just the differences in our voice naturally. It's like, I don't think anyone can mimic someone's voice perfect. And so it's always just decided, like, for consistency, again, for character integrity, let's just record everything. So we did. And it was months later that it finally came out. It was a D23 Expo, I think, where they debuted it, and they like invited all the D23 members to go over there and see it. And my brother and I were in the park that night, and I don't know why I wasn't like willing to go get a spot, but I was like, it's fine. I'm just gonna like hear it from the side. So we're doing our thing, Big Thunder Mountain, whatever, and it starts, and we like walk over, like, hey, let's check it out. And so it starts, and it's my voice in Fantasmic, like this childhood dream come true, and it's like very surreal. I get emotional talking about it. I'm gonna try not to cry in front of you, Mark, because you make fun of me every time. But at the end of it, they ended up using my voice for the finale. Like, some imagination, huh? And it was just one of those like full circle moments where you sit there and go, how is this my life? How is this reality? And my brother, this is the part where I get emotional, don't start crying, Mark. he put his arm around me and he said, "Did you ever imagine when we were kids playing Fantasmic in the backyard that one day your voice would be projected over these speakers?" And I just lost it. And my mom was there too, and but not with us, and so she comes over and she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "What? Why are you crying?" And I was like, "Life is just so amazing." So it is truly, I joke because I'm trying to keep you from seeing me ugly cry, but one of the coolest moments of my career, of my life. The fact that I got to share it with family is even more special. I'm very close. Family's very important to me, so. It's that dream come true. I often say Mickey is a dream come true I didn't know I had. I wasn't a voice actor. I wasn't somebody who was trying to be the voice of Mickey. I often say, like, if I had been that person, I hope you would have been like, get a real job. It just didn't seem like it was a possibility, and it just worked out to where it's such. And for Florida, for Hollywood Studios, we just updated that a little bit ago, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen the new version that came out. And so I was, again, wonderfully delighted and honored to get to revoice Mickey in that one too. So it's crazy.
Wow, I love that story. That is just, it's like destiny. It's like, it's what Disney met there. Let's applaud them. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to wait too. You're also an animator and a designer.
Yeah, illustrator technically. A lot of people make that. I never want to, animation is something I wanted to get into.
Right, yeah.
I haven't professionally animated. I guess you could say I was an animator in the 7th grade when I did a little
scary,
piece.
put them together.
I kicked a ball into a hole. That's as far as I got animation-wise. But no, I've been an illustrator. I went to school for illustration. First job was at Hallmark Greeting Cards as an illustrator and graphic designer, and I've maintained that since because voice acting, you're not 9 to 5, so I've got time on the side where I've been able to maintain an artistic design career, which is very important to me. And through that, I've had amazing opportunities to do Disney art, whether it's exclusive prints or I've done some apparel, and continue to work with Ashley on some fun stuff that we can't really talk about yet.
Okay.
It's great. I get to draw Mickey.
Yeah, and I want to talk about one thing in particular. Because the first time I met you is when they debuted your Mickey ears.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And it was very specific. And I remember I saw it with you for the first time. I think you were holding it and looking at it. But it was very unique. Can you tell us about, so they had the designer series of Mickey ears, and you did one. Can you tell us the details of it? Because I thought it was really cool. It was called On Air.
That's right.
The hat.
I'm glad you remember that. I just realized I think I've been holding the receiver wrong this whole time. Sorry if my voice is cutting out. I'm like sliding down this thing. I'm a professional.
They'll expect you on.
Yeah. Look, I'm not Celine Dion. I'm not holding this. It's normally like yes, On Air, the Mickey hat. So as part of the artist series, I actually got that opportunity at a Destination D event at the Contemporary Resort, and the head of merchandise of that program was there presenting these ears, and Ashley had done, are we okay on time?
No, we're good.
Okay.
That's all on me.
You bored?
You know. Stop it.
He's heard it before. So the person in charge of that program was there, and they were debuting, I think, like Ashley's ears, and I just went over to her and introduced myself, and I was like, just so you know, I'm also an artist, and if there's ever an opportunity to be a part of something like this, I would love to design Mickey ears. And she was like, are you kidding? Like, we need you to design Mickey ears. Oh. So my ears were kind of an homage to Mickey being the first talking cartoon character, a la Steamboat Willie. With my love of everything vintage, I love vintage things. I love the 30s, 40s, 50s kind of styling. So I gave them these ears that were very reminiscent of the old ribbon microphones that they used to have. And then the crest of the hat says it's a little clear with On Air lettering, that lights up when you press it. And of course they had to make sound. So I said, oh boy! Yeah. I wanted to say a whole lot more, but they couldn't afford it. Which I was like, I can talk forever. I'll do it for free. That was the problem. It was the chip. He just got a little simple Mickey Mouse face on the front. It's all felt, kind of to resemble like an old Letterman jacket. I love that, again, the vintage feel. So I was really happy with how they turned out. And the very back says, on the back of the ear says November 18th, 1928. Which is the company's, designation for its official birthday, the day Steamboat Willie premiered, and it's funny because I remember, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but somebody on that design review at some point goes, now, like the November 18th, is that like a significant date for you? Do you want to keep that?
Oh, wow.
You're fired. That's what I thought. So I didn't say it.
How many times has Mickey said that?
I don't know.
Oh,
Never.
Yeah,
I don't think he's ever said that. That's a touchy. So we don't want to get.
We don't want to get into that. I'm going to scratch that from the record.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And I also want to talk about. It's so in line with Walt. Walt was, an illustrator and an animator, and he had a love for trains. You also share a love of trains. Yes, indeed. So can you tell us a little bit about, I think I follow you on Instagram and you were working on something.
I'm restoring a steam locomotive right now, yes. It's a story that deserves its own expo. We need to go to a train expo to talk about this in full. But lifelong train fan, started with little model trains, and I've since graduated to operating real trains. I worked for a competitor's theme park in Southern California for a while just to drive trains. And when I say, I mean, this was like 4 years ago. I was a grown adult. And I joked that I was their biggest and only hidden Mickey.
That's awesome. Oh, wow. Yeah. I like that.
So I had fun doing that. But I've been fortunate enough to come into possession of my own steam locomotive now that was a very gracious gift from a family of a guy who built it, and I actually grew up riding this train, so it's got a lot of personal connection, a lot of nostalgia tied to it, and I've hinted a lot at like my love of Walt's legacy, but that really extends beyond Walt. Even I'm a fan of history. I'm a big fan, and I feel like it's my calling lately to address and acknowledge and bring to light other people's legacies and stories, because I think there's a lot of untold stories in this world, and a lot of creative people who are passionate about things that don't often get exposure. And so, with my personal connection with this gentleman, his name is Tommy Thompson, and just the influence he had on me, I got in touch with the family, and then we've now made it like a joint effort mission to restore this train that's kind of been unused for the past 20 years since he passed away, and we're going to get it restored and get it up and running. And I'm not building a theme park by any means, but I've loved through social media and different events, to kind of bring to light his story and kind of share, the power of being passionate about anything, especially when it comes to being creative in the arts. I think there's so much joy to bring to people through that, and so that's why I get excited to share people's stories.
Well,
and I like trains. I mean,
yeah,
choo choo,
choo choo.